Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first seminar in Cosmetics 2017 in London. I'm James Clues. I'm head of the commercial team at Stephenson Personal Care. I've worked in the personal care industry for 5 years with a background in neuroscience.
I am Carmen Martinez, as you can hear. I'm from Spain. I've worked in the chemical industry for the last 12 years. Back in Spain in Isdin, here in the UK in companies such as Croda, Unilever, and recently incorporated myself to the Stephenson's group.
Stephenson Personal Care is a manufacturer of natural soap bases and other ingredients, and today we're here to talk about natural alternatives to synthetic surfactants. We're going to look at market trends that are defining consumer decisions relating to natural products, the origin of materials, the way they're grown, the way they're processed, and the implications this has on their buying decisions.
I am gonna define what is natural and natural ingredients. I am going to define what is synthetic, and also we are going to talk about a few processes for both, how to produce natural products and how to produce synthetic products. That is going to lead us to some natural formulations that we suggest.
So to give some context, the global personal care market is worth around $350 billion. The natural and sustainable part of the market outperformed by a factor of 3, 15% year-on-year growth, really highlighting that this part of the sector should be a focus for innovation and development. Key drivers that are influencing this growth. Consumer awareness. Consumers are increasingly looking at labels and knowing what they see. Consumers are not only listening to advertising when brands are talking about what they're free from, what they include, why they have performance benefits, but they're talking to each other, using social media, peer-to-peer communication about why products are good or less good, and why things being natural is more positive, are being discussed. So the perception is vital.
And as James says, perception is vital. Also is in skin types. People recognize now what are the different skin types, and sensitive skin is just one of them. And how we buy the products, the cosmetics, in accordance to our beliefs.
And sustainability. Not only are consumers asking, what is my material? They're asking, where did it come from? How was it grown? And was it done in an ethical and responsible way? Consumers taking buying decisions. More than a third of consumers who bought natural or organic last year bought due to a change in their awareness. So these are not repeat customers. This is, I've learned something new and I've taken a conscious decision to change my buying habit. We can also see that 50% of men believe that a skincare product with natural ingredients is better for their skin. We're not here to talk about whether it is better or it isn't, but with half of men thinking that it's better for them, a natural focus for male skincare and grooming should be of importance.
Sensitive skin. As I said before, people now is conscious of the different skin types. There is fair skin, olive skin, greasy skin, dry skin. Sensitive skin is just another one of those skin types. This can be defined as people that has got sensitive skin suffer from pruritus, itchiness, burning sensations, and it could lead up to having pain. This has been correlated to the thickness of the stratum corneum. The stratum corneum is the top, the highest layer of the skin, which protects us from the environment and other affections. And this is, the thinner is the stratum corneum, the more sensitive is your skin. And that has been studied in several studies. One in special is one from Frost, which show that just 14% of the population has actually got sensitive skin. However, it's just 14% of the population, but many of us believe that we have sensitive skin. because synthetic components and synthetic products are believed to build sensitization. We prefer to buy natural products. We believe that natural products are carrying mild, and therefore that's why it drives our buying decisions. 71% of population is looking for products that are ultra gentle, that we believe are going to be good for our skin.
So to summarise on this slide, a small proportion of people have sensitive skin. A large proportion look for products because they believe they have sensitive skin, and we've discussed that there is a perception of natural and mildness correlating. Sustainability is a hot topic. It's been a hot topic for many years. Consumers are taking buying decisions based on the brand's sustainable and ethical position when it comes to raw materials. With more than nearly 90% of consumers saying that is a factor when they're making a buying decision. With over a quarter of people in the USA stating that they are a green consumer, buying either regularly or very regularly eco-sustainable products, it's clear that this is on the forefront of the consumer's mind. So over to Carmen to talk about what does natural really mean.
What is natural? Actually, natural is not regulated by law. Natural, we can consider natural different things, and this can be certified at different bodies. We have bodies such as Cosmos, Natural, EcoCert, and they define what is natural. One of the definitions for natural ingredients is those that are coming from farming, agriculture, and mining, but that haven't got through any process. They don't go through any process, maybe just through physical separation or physical processes. They have another definition of ingredients that are from natural origin. Those are ingredients that are also coming from farming, mining, or from agriculture that have gone through a list of chemical approved processes, and those are also defined as natural. There is also another definition, is organic. Those are the ingredients or final products that are gone through a system that their ingredients are not being grown if they are from plants or produced with any man-made chemical. They want products that haven't got any man-made chemical. And that leads us to what is synthetic. Synthetic are ingredients that come from the petroleum, from the crude oil. Crude oil is fractionated and is separated in many other ingredients and fractions. And also there are a few other chemical processes that can go through to become synthetic, but we will talk about those later on. And James is going to talk us about what is soap.
So soap is probably the world's oldest surfactant. There are many stories as to who invented soap and when. The oldest one, which I don't have a reference for, but I seem to remember hearing it, was the idea that where animal fat would make its way into a water system, as that animal fat met a part of the water that had some alkali in it, maybe from ash, that at this point this would be a very good place to do your washing. Now, depending on where you come from in the world, there are lots of different stories about who made soap first. Aleppo soap is very famous. Savon de Marseille is something perhaps we've heard of. And certainly close to Carmen's heart, the region of Castile in Spain. Castile soap was traditionally made from olive oil, which is made in Spain, and was usually in a liquid soap form, so a liquid surfactant. Today we use the term Castile soap to describe a blend of vegetable oil rather than animal fats that is saponified to make a natural surfactant, a liquid soap.
And we are going to talk now about the different processes, both for natural and for synthetic. Here we have the natural process of making soap. To start making soap, we need to know the raw materials. As James indicated, we have one possibility to make soap with olive oil. And here we have some pictures of the traditional harvest of the olives and how it's gone through a press process to extract the oil. And also, with the oil, we need the caustic soda or potassium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide. This is taken from brines, which are separated with electrolysis, and then this potassium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide can be used as brine, or it can be left to crystallize. This is just some common salt crystallization methods, just to give you an example. Okay, we've talked about the raw materials. We have the oil and we have the potassium hydroxide in this case. This is just the saponification method and chemical reaction to make a soap. We have in here your triglycerides, which is your oil. Your oil is all made of triglycerides. And your potassium hydroxide, which goes, when you mix them together, it goes under the saponification reaction. And naturally, the oil decomposes into glycerin and fatty acids. And because opposites attract, the fatty acid with the negative group will go with the cation from the potassium, and they will get together and bind together to form your soap molecules. Therefore, you have here your soap molecules with your glycerin, and that gives you all the raw materials that you have at the start. They are completely reacted into soap and glycerin to form your liquid soap, your Castile soap. And we've talked about natural ingredients and natural saponification. Now we talk about synthetic ingredients and synthetic processes. I said before, the synthetic are products that come from the fractionation of the petroleum, but also involves other processes. And those chemical processes can be ethoxylation, which is the reaction with ethyl oxide, which can come from the petroleum. And these processes also can be halogenation, which is the incorporation of elements from the halogen group, which are your chlor, iodine, bromine, into your molecule. These processes also can be sulfonatation, which is the reaction with sulfuric acid to make aryl sulfonates, to make sulfonates. Those sulfonates are used very broadly in detergents. And those are the raw materials, but also we need to look at what happens with whatever is left behind, because nature and other organizations are also really worried about what happens after is the biodegradability. Are our components, are our products biodegradable? Then that is also something that we need to take into account. Once we finish with it, can it go into the air, the water, and be sustainable? Okay, I said about the raw materials. Now let's go to see the process. The synthetic surfactant, this one in particular, is an alkyl benzene sulfonate. This is, as I said before, very commonly used in detergents. And here we have a benzene ring. Benzene ring is from the fractionation of petroleum. Crude oil is taken into a very, very high tower and boiled off and fractionated in different melting points and boiling points. One section is the benzene. This benzene is mixed together with an alkene, and over an acid catalyst, they form your alkyl benzenate. This is step one. Step two is this gets together and they put them over a mixture of sulfonic trioxide and N to make your sulfonatation. We said before, sulfonatation is another synthetic process which is not considered natural at all. And that forms your benzyl alkyl sulfonate. That's step 2. And step 3, because this is an acid, you mix it together with sodium hydroxide or A hydroxide and you neutralize it. And the end product of this third step is your alkyl benzene sulfonate with water. And you have your detergent. And therefore we see it's got benzene from the petroleum and it's got a sulfonation. And that gives us 2 steps that we can say is completely synthetic. And James is going to give us some key facts of what is natural and what is synthetic.
Thanks, Carmen. So to compare and contrast liquid soaps as a natural surfactant versus traditional synthetic surfactants, there are some positives on both sides and some challenges on both sides. With relation to consumer awareness of the materials that are on their ingredients listing and the concept of clean labelling, soap is a really good option for that because you have one inky name, generally something 8, potassium cocoate if it's coconut, potassium olivate if it's olive oil. It also supports that material is from a vegetable origin, so it's quite clear to see that. You also have the advantage of when an oil is saponified, certification bodies such as organic bodies recognise that original organic oil and will still permit certification of the surfactant after processing. So a liquid soap can be certified within an organic formulation. The challenges of liquid soap, it has an inherent soapy base smell. Some people find that really appealing, others choose to formulate around it, but it is a characteristic. Another characteristic is the inherent high pH. All soap is high pH. It's a characteristic that you can't change. The advantage is in some liquid formulations, this can make it self-preserving. Not needing to include a preservative in a formulation also enforces clean labelling and reduces your need to include synthetic materials. Now, on the downside, some products, some additives are pH sensitive, so these may not be compatible. Now, for synthetic surfactants, they are incredibly widely available. Many manufacturers make them, probably locally in the markets that you're all from. This makes them very inexpensive. They are also very flexible. Synthetic surfactants are used in many household and many personal care products. We see them in all sorts of blends and varieties. So for the formulator, there is a lot of flexibility. There are of course compatibility issues from time to time, so nothing is perfect. But the challenges when we're talking about consumers' desire for natural materials are the synthetic processes and the synthetic materials that can be incorporated. Carmen has described some of the things that can be part of that processing. Some key words that we are aware of consumers looking to avoid are ethoxylates, PEGs, sulfonates. These are all chemical processes or chemical additions that are made in synthetic surfactant manufacturing. These are things that are not present in the saponification, the production of soap. So we're going to touch on a couple of example formulations of ways you can use a liquid soap to create a typical product. Carmen.
Yeah, thank you, James. As we said, this is natural beer wash. Is a beer wash made with organic ingredients. And if you remember one of the slides before, we said 51% or 50% of male are interested in buying organic or natural products. This actually is one that can be organically certified and is made of sunflower seed oil, is made of coconut oil as a liquid soap, and it can be, it's natural, it's a PEG-free, sulfate-free, it's self-preserving because it's a high pH liquid soap. This can be improved and rheology modified to please the different sensories with some salt. By the salt addition, the rheology will change. This can also have some goodies put in it. It's like you can mix it with essential oil, fragrances, other active ingredients. to make it more with a more holistic sensory. And as I said before, this is can be organically certified.
The next formulation we're going to look at is a natural hand wash. Similarly to the beard wash, this uses a oil-based soap, a natural surfactant. In this case, we're using palm kernel oil. Palm kernel gives a foaming effect, so that is your surfactant part of the formulation. An advantage with this product, as well as its performance, is that we are using, or one can use, an RSPO segregated version of palm kernel oil. So this product would meet the RSPO SG standard. This is something quite unique for a hand wash, as typically the highest level of RSPO certification that one can achieve with a surfactant is usually mass balance. So by using that RSPO SG oil, this formulation creates an RSPO SG finished product. This is a very simple formulation, as we discussed, green labelling, peg-free, sulfate-free, and gives the brand a real advantage in terms of their selling points. Of course, these are just two examples of different formulations that can be created. We've spoken about organic coconut oil and organic sunflower oil in the first formulation, sustainable palm kernel in the second, but really any oil has the ability to be saponified, carrying different benefits in terms of performance and certification. So in summary, we've spoken about the natural and sustainable region of the personal care market outperforming by a factor of 3 the market as a whole. We've spoken about what it means to be natural and what the perception is of synthetic. And we've discussed how a liquid soap can perform as a natural alternative to a synthetic surfactant and shown you some application ideas. So that brings our seminar to a conclusion. Thank you very much. We have a few minutes for questions. Would somebody like to ask the first question? Please. Oh, there's a microphone just going.
Hi, good morning. I'm Vivek. I'm coming from India. My company name is Ila Biomarine Private Limited.
Good morning.
I have a question. Do you have a food grade cleanser? Basically, we are looking for a product for cleaning the vegetable, which is a food grade product. It's a natural surfactant which can be a food grade product. Do you have it?
Okay. The oils that are used in this type of process are food grade and of course personal care grade as well. So that's something that we could certainly talk to you about and maybe have a conversation about after the show. Would there be any more questions at this point?
Yeah.
There's a microphone just going to come to you here.
Do you expect companies to produce their own soaps, or do you offer soap bases to the industry?
Yes, we are a manufacturer of soap bases, so we offer that service, that technology of saponification to create a suitable finished base that your contract manufacturer or brand can use to formulate their finished products. But we do the chemistry and you do the finishing.
Great. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Carolina. I've got a question. You said that these soap formulations, they are quite high in pH. What does this high pH do to the skin barrier? Are they fine to use for over a long period of time?
You are absolutely fine using them as soaps, which is a rinse-off product. This is normally used and it should be fine to use as a rinse-off product.
The natural pH of the skin?
The natural pH of the skin is absolutely fine with it, and the only people that would need actually to look into it is people that have prescription medication from eczema or actually suffer from medical sicknesses. If you suffer from sensitive skin, you're absolutely fine, because it's a rinse-off product. You apply it and then it rinses off and it removes completely. If you apply it and you leave it on the skin, like some people have got eczema and they use aqueous cream, this is not good for you because it's left on the skin. You need to rinse it off. This is a product that you need to rinse off.
being one of the world's, well, probably the world's oldest surfactant, there's quite a lot of in the field experience that this is a suitable product for skincare. Are there any more questions from the room at this point? If not, we are available to speak to anybody on stand RR30, and we welcome any questions there. We're here all week. Thank you very much for attending.